Good morning. This is our last week with We Shall Be Known as a sing-along prelude, so feel free to sing yourselves to your seats as you're making your way there. And since it's our last week, if you've sung some of the harmony parts for this before, I really encourage you to get those going. I know some of you know those, so we'll start here. We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round to tend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change, alive from deep within the earth. It is time now, it is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round to tend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change, alive from deep within the earth. It is time now, it is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. Thank you.
Thank you, Jen. And bonjour tout le monde. Welcome, everyone, to the First Unitarian Congregation of Ottawa. Whether you are here with us in Worship Hall or watching from wherever you may be, know that you are welcome. I'm the Reverend Meter, this congregation's lead minister.
And I'm Lisa, your worship associate this morning. We acknowledge that our FirstU campus is located on traditional, unsurrendered, and unceded Algonquin and Anishinaabeg territory, and that the work of reconciliation is a responsibility of our congregation and of all Canadians. Our goal is to educate ourselves and all those who have the willingness to understand, to be of service to those at risk, and to advocate for justice.
It is great to be with all of you this morning on this rather balmy last Sunday of January. Let's raise our voices in song once more. Please rise in body or spirit now as we sing together Breaths, which is number 1001 in our teal hymnal. The words will also be on the screen above. we light our chalice flame this morning to these words by David Breeden. We gather into this circle of care to dream, to envision, to embody and achieve the compassion we dream, the justice we envision, the dignity of each in an ever-growing circle of both love and justice. Okay. Oh.
Somebody misplaced the book.
And now we turn to how we are together. As health challenges continue, do take care and take advantage of online opportunities at FirstU to stay in touch. If you are new to FirstU and would like to learn more about us, please contact us through our email at welcome@firstunitarianottawa.ca. And if you are right here in Worship Hall with us this morning and would like more information about FirstU, it is available at the welcome table at the back of the pews, and Jane is there to answer any questions that you might have. And now I invite Carmen to come forward. Carmen is a member of our board, and she will give us the highlights of some announcements today. Carmen?
Thank you, Lisa. Our adult learning and growth team has copies of its listings of workshops and events for the winter-spring period available this morning. Copies are available at the back of Worship Hall and in the West Lobby. Do check it out. There are lots of exciting new events coming up that you won't want to miss. The Environmental Action Group needs your help in the fight against climate change. The government has proposed a new emissions framework and is asking for your comment. Please help us tell them it must be more stringent. Go to the Climate Action page on the FirstU website, and under Enviro Advocacy, you will find information on how to participate. The deadline for comments is February 5th. The Women's Spirituality Group is starting up again with a new name, Women's Pagan Circle. They plan to meet every 6 weeks, starting with a celebration of Imbolc or Candlemas, which is the halfway point between the winter solstice and the spring equinox. You can join them here at FirstU on Wednesday, January 31st at 7 p.m. And finally, please mark your calendar for an adult learning workshop on the history of protest music on Sunday, February 11th at 1 p.m. You can register in advance for a light lunch before the workshop. If you want to learn more about each of these events, please check the EUU. And for an announcement on our new congregational focus, we have Nina Strong and Jane Lindsay.
Hey Jane, I think the brainstorming event we have planned for next Sunday, February 4th after the service, is a great way to launch our new social justice focus. We call it Cultivating Compassionate Community, deepening our support for marginalized and underserved folks, both inside and beyond our FirstU community. I really hope a lot of congregants come to it. That being said, it seems that calling this brainstorming event FirstU's Collaborative Ideas Garage may have left some people wondering what we mean by garage.
Well, I know that when you first suggested it, I have to say I really wasn't sure what you meant. And I thought, who knows? But then some similarities popped up in my mind between a garage and what we might be doing. So the first one was, I saw a shiny car parked in the garage.
You're right that the brainstorming garage next Sunday may help us to identify things we already do or have here at FirstU that we want to keep polished and running well. But that was not why I suggested we call next week's event a garage.
Oh, that's a good idea, though. Okay. All right, well, but another image popped up for me as well then. Then I thought of how my garage gives me a place to assemble and then garbage or recycle things I don't want anymore.
Yep, that fits too. Next week, we may identify things we now do or have that we want to discard or stop doing to better cultivate compassionate community, especially for marginalized folks.
Okay. Well, and then I thought of one more. I thought of how my garage is a place where I collect tools like shovels and spades to make my house and property safe and attractive.
For sure. Next week's garage will help us think of things we want to use more or to start using to cultivate compassionate community. But none of what you have just named is why I wanted to call next Sunday's brainstorm a garage. It was actually because I thought about how many powerful initiatives and culture-changing inventions started as ideas in garages. Since FirstU doesn't have a garage, we'll be using Fellowship Hall. In a garage, ideas can be workshopped, built up, or parked for another day. A big objective on February 4th is to hear people's ideas relating to the focus, but also to see which ideas are best supported to be initiated in the near future.
Okay. I like that idea. That's good. That's a good one. But I like the other ones too. So I am hoping that all of you here will come out and join us next February 4th at 12:30 for our Collaborative Ideas Garage to think about where we're going to go and how we might go there in terms of really building collaborative community here, especially for people who are marginalized or underserved. As well, I'm hoping that over time you will engage not just in events, but in doing different kinds of things to support and be active in this whole focus. All right? And we're having a great time together.
Thank you, Jane and Nina. Now we have Phil Nagy, which he will give us a report on our pledge campaign.
I hope you enjoyed the typo in the order of service. That was not deliberate. Good morning. We're there. The 2024 pledge campaign has ended. The results are mixed. I want to thank the many people who pledged, in particular, those who told the team that they were unable to pledge more because of their difficult economic situation. Thank you for finding a place in your hearts and wallets for FirstU in this trying year. Also, special thanks to the pledge team, Michelle Jackson, Marianne O'Hagan, Maury Prevost, and Chuck Shields for their wise advice, patience with my constant emails, and relentless buoyancy. First, some good news. We raised $330,000, an accomplishment in the face of economic uncertainty. We should congratulate ourselves. The not so good news. The $330,000 was about 5% short of the campaign goal of $348,000. On the one hand, it's good to have an aspirational goal. On the other hand, we are indeed short of the pledge amount in the budget. More good news. We'd hoped for 200 pledges, and we received 203. Including couples, that's about 250 people. A bit of detail. Almost half the pledges remained the same as in 2023, while about 30% were able to increase their pledges. Even more detail. 25 people felt they had to reduce their pledges from 2023. As long as I can judge, about 2/3 of this group did so for personal economic reasons, while 1/3, about 8 pledges, were lowered to express unhappiness with some aspect of FirstU. The most common of these concerns had been forwarded to the board. On the positive side, there were 12 brand new pledges and 8 more people who returned after a year or more of not pledging. So where did we lose ground? There were 32 people or couples who pledged in 2023 but not in 2024. 8 of these are now deceased or in long-term care. 14 have either moved away or lost contact. 6 were unable or unwilling to pledge. And 4 said that they would pledge and have not yet done so. The Pay It Forward initiative was a big success, about $4,500 from 28 people. As you might know, we pay the Canadian Unitarian Council about $120 for each member. About half the amount raised is enough to cover the CUC levy for the 10 people who pledged less than $120, as well as several who were unable to pledge at all. So half the amount raised this year will be put toward the CUC levy for 2024, and the other half held for the 2025 levy. Thus, the Pay It Forward initiative will be paused for 2025 and reinstated the next year. It's not just another way to get money. It is a way of being radically inclusive. A bit for the process nerds. Administratively, there have been substantial progress. We now have a how-to manual and a relatively simple system to track information. Sources of possible error in record keeping have been addressed. The size of the phone team has been doubled, allowing more personal contact. We continued the practice of asking the caring committee to help in the pre-screening of the phone list. We asked the phone team to let us know after their calls of anyone who might benefit from a follow-up call from the caring committee, the membership team, or perhaps the minister. Those phoning sought to make the calls more of a general catch-up than just a request for funds. In the future, professional crystal ball gazers are saying that there will be an economic turnaround in the summer. I'm looking forward to the 2025 campaign, and thank you for your support.
Indeed, thank you very much, Phil. We encourage you to sign up to receive the EUU, our weekly email newsletter. Check our Facebook and Instagram pages and our website for notices and updates. Our calendar continues to be as full as ever, though some of our activities take place online. This morning, each of us is welcome. We, of any heritage or faith, whatever our burdens, of any culture or race, of any gender or orientation, in any body, all that we are, today we are all part of this spiritual community. Thank you.
Each week, we pause in our time together in recognition of both the joy and sorrows in our lives and across the globe. We honor our celebrations and challenges by placing stones in a bowl of water. As the ripples extend outward, we can imagine them continuing out beyond the small bowl, out through and past our pews, out into the larger community of all. 2 stones of appreciation and celebration for events on the world stage that may have got some, but not, I think, enough attention. The esteemed Canadian Roundtable for Sustainable Beef reports a 15% reduction in greenhouse gas emissions between the period of 2014 to 2021, meaning the industry is on track to meet its goal to reduce their emissions by a third by the end of this decade. Every little bit isn't so little. And going a bit further afield on the global scale, Iran's literacy rate reached 97% in 2023, up from less than 50% in the 1970s. There are some improvements. And a stone of sorrow for our friend, the Reverend Deborah Falk, and all those grieving the loss of Jane Perry. We mentioned Jane Perry's death last week. She had been a longtime music director here before moving to Calgary for love. We await news on memorial celebrations for Jane. Please, if you have a joy or a sorrow or a challenge that you or loved ones are facing, please come forward to drop a stone or stones of your own at this time. That final stone was in honor of all that remains in the silent sanctuary of our hearts. I invite you now into a time of stillness and reflection. After several moments, Jen will bring us back together through the gift of music.
Our reading this morning is entitled Belief by Gail and Matthew Tittle. At a recent funeral, the officiating clergyperson, knowing that many present were not adherents to his particular faith and belief, provided some explanation regarding certain beliefs, symbols, and rituals. This was a bit unusual for a funeral, and some found it patronizing, but he did not mean it to be. He was truly trying to reach out and bridge a gap, even if awkwardly. The real issue arose when he spoke for non-believers. He said things like, "When we die, non-believers think it's lights out. Believers look to new life." He was trying to explain the symbolism of baptism and resurrection. Many people do not believe in a specific theology or deity or participate in a religious community, but this does not stop them from being devoted people of faith. Many non-believers even believe that life is eternal, not necessarily in the sense that there is a heaven, but in that we leave a legacy behind. We live on in the memories and deeds of those whose lives we affected while we were here. We leave behind our deeds. Those who follow us leave theirs, and so on. We can create heaven or hell here on earth. We can leave behind positive, negative, or irrelevant memories and legacies for eternity to deal with. All our lights shine on forever, for better or for worse.
Thanks again, Jen. Late this last August, this room held a celebration of life ceremony for a long-time member, Phyllis Eleazar, who we hadn't seen here since the previous winter when she was diagnosed, first with a form of dementia, and then later on with ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease. The service was going to start a few minutes late, and so I took to the podium right here to let people know, talk amongst yourselves, it's going to be a couple minutes. We're waiting for some important family members. And here on the podium, I noticed Phyllis's Bible, which her surviving family would read from to offer biblical passages shortly. It was well worn, and I just opened it up, and I found it the most thoroughly highlighted and dog-eared book I had ever encountered. A side of Phyllis I had no idea existed. Afterward, during the reception that followed the ceremony, one of you came up to me to say that an exploration of our end-of-life beliefs would be a great topic. Now, the person meant it, I learned later, as a topic for an adult learning class. But I heard it, at least in part in that moment, as a topic for a Sunday morning reflection. So here we are. And yes, an adult learning class, adult education class. on the topic is certainly possible down the road, but let's begin today. As we've hosted, this space has hosted 2 memorials in the last 2 weeks that have drawn a standing room only crowd, and I am not at all exaggerating that. The services were respectively for a 50-year-old man and the second for a man who died just days shy of his 35th birthday. Both partners and parents. And people who were, by all accounts, not churchgoers, but were deep spiritual people nonetheless. And I've been thinking about end-of-life experiences and understandings quite a bit lately. And this is an area where I have some experience as a witness and someone who has read into accounts a fair amount, but I have no claims to be an expert in this field. Came close to dying once. I swallowed water in a pool, and the Heimlich brought me back, and all I remember thinking was, uh-oh, I'm too young to die. I'm not ready for this. And thank you to the woman stranger who performed the Heimlich. And later, I told my friend, I don't know if I thanked her, and I was told, Eric, that's all you did. You said thank you for 10 minutes. When I was a young boy, there were a few nights when I would lie awake in bed wondering what death would feel like. Trying to imagine not being brought on only anxiety attacks of a sort. My heart would race, my face would flush, and I said, uh-oh, if I keep this up, maybe I will die. We're going to stop. So I dropped the practice then, and I don't go too far down that road these days. Over the years, every now and then, a Christian friend would say that a family member, usually a much younger family member, when talking about a dying relative or someone in the family who is going in for a risky surgery, the young person would say, well, you know, if they died, that'd be okay. They'd be able to be with Granny Louise up in heaven. I could, and sometimes did, dismiss that sort of talk, but at the same time, there was part of me who envied that sense of certainty. Now, I think I've mentioned that my wife and I, Anne and I, are several years behind in the world of what is current in television and increasingly movies. And this week we picked up where we had left off after the end of season 2 in the Netflix TV show The Kaminsky Method. Any of you watched it? Several hands, okay. It stars Michael Douglas as Sandy Kaminsky, an aging acting instructor in Los Angeles. Now, I said aging. Let me be more specific. He's at least 75, and his best friend is even older. The cast of the show also includes Kathleen Turner and that friend, the late, great Alan Arkin, among others. And here I have to offer a spoiler alert. There's a passage from the 5th episode of the 3rd and final season that I want to share with you now. It's too long to take a 60-second excerpt on YouTube, so you get me instead of Michael Douglas. I apologize. The scene is set in the acting studio where a class is underway. 2 20-something aspiring actors are performing the final scene between Rose and Jack in James Cameron's film Titanic. The scene with them in the water after the ship has sunk, the scene in which Jack dies. Sandy congratulates the actors on doing a great job and then invites them to take their seats as he himself takes the stage. And here is what he says to the class. Let's talk about the scene. More specifically, let's talk about the subject matter of the scene. Dying on camera or stage to play a heartbreaking and hopefully slow death is the dream of any actor. I would wager there's not an actor or actress who hasn't fantasized about how they would play the final moments as the life force slowly slips away, as we teeter on the edge of non-existence. How would we gasp out those last words of wit or wisdom? But is that what happens as death draws close? Do the dying exact promises from those they leave behind? Do they confess their sins? Do they tell a joke? Don't get me wrong, I'm not taking issue with the scene or how you guys performed it. You did a great job. What I'm asking you to think about is what really happens in those final moments. Now, I'm not talking about a violent, shocking death. I'm talking about when you know it's coming, when you fully surrendered to the ultimate magic trick, when we really and truly disappear. He continues, I sat at the bedside and held the hands of friends and loved ones as they've breathed their last breath. And I can tell you this, the dramatic soliloquy at the end of life is pure and utter nonsense. If anything's being said, it's internal. You can almost hear it. They're having a conversation filled with disbelief and wonder, and that their life has come to an end. They hardly notice you sitting there at all. For the dying, the living are irrelevant. So if you should ever have the opportunity to play such a scene, approach it with reverence. Consider it holy. Make sure it receives the utmost care and respect. Okay, that's enough for me. End scene. Now we here today, watching wherever, whenever you are probably not, at least right now, acting students. Yet as Shakespeare so deftly put it, although I'm adapting his words here, all the world's a stage, and we are merely players who have our exits and our entrances, and over time play many parts. So yeah, we may not be acting students, but we are all players on the stage of life. In a book titled Meetings at the Edge, Dialogues with the Grieving and Dying, the Healing and the Healed, Stephen Levine offers accounts of conversations he's had with those facing their own death or the death of a loved one. One of those facing their remaining days had this to say to him, "This is the most difficult learning. Daily I'm confronted with a body unable to take care of itself, to even move when I want it to. It's the dark closet. Sometimes when it's worst at 2 or 3 in the morning and there is no one to help and I can't turn over without getting my arm caught under me and I just cry out and am so frightened. Sometimes at that moment something will happen when there's just nowhere to turn and all of a sudden there will be great peace. It may last till morning or even last into the day, but it always, at some point, it disappears. Always, my fear of having a body like this overwhelms me, and no one seems really to understand what I'm going through. Very few, anyhow. Now, about this peace that dying person mentioned, one of our preeminent theologians in this religious tradition has this to say: there is a love holding me. There is a love holding you. There is a love holding all. We rest in this love. If, hopefully years from now, I'm lucky enough to be able to know even generally when death will come for me, I don't know how my understandings of life and death will change. I don't know what I'll discover about the relationship between my mind and my body, let alone this thing we vaguely, imperfectly call a soul. I hope that I will experience once again this sense of peace or love like the one who spoke to Levine in that passage, and the love that Parker permeates all of life. I hope I will feel that deeply, and not just for a lingering quick moment. What I've learned from conversations with hospital chaplains is that, contrary to what many expect, folks usually don't become more religious at the end. Rather, they let go of trappings that have carried them forward to that point, trappings that simply aren't useful for them anymore. What I believe now is that while aging may be full of many hurdles, that death itself is safe. Death is not the enemy. It simply is life and death, once again, as always, woven fine. What I believe also is that the dying have much to teach us, the living, about life, and our job is to give them the gift of our attention and to learn all we can from them. This is a community in which we celebrate the wholeness of life and encourage both ourselves and others to live as fully, love as deeply, and care as widely as humanly possible. Last week, our guest speaker began with a personal story from her formative years of when she was hungry and in foster care, of when she stole a head of broccoli. And that conversation sparked, that story sparked some of the most interesting coffee hour conversations I had ever heard. Did you know that among us, someone you may have heard just a few minutes ago, is a retired math professor, generally well-respected, trusted individual who, as a youngster, stole a watermelon? Successfully, he claims. How anyone can pull that off is beyond me. We've got impressionable young people of any age here, and a spouse who's trying to not laugh too much. How anyone could pull that off is beyond me, but I'll tell you, that's the kind of person I want to associate with. That's someone I can learn something from. In an open letter he penned shortly before he died, my colleague, the Reverend Josiah Bartlett, called ministry the best seat in the house of life. Well, my vantage point isn't really all that different from anyone who's part of a community of faith and gives themselves to it. So I would say, in closing, I've got two little things to say. If we fear death, let's try to put that aside to the extent that we can and accept our death and the death of those we love if we are given the gift of time with them to apologize for what needs to be apologized to tell them thank you as much as we can, to learn from them so that our lives can be the richer. One final note. In a moment, our house band will come forward and perform a song by Iris DeMent called Let the Mystery Be. It's a song that came out on her first solo record, and I was introduced to Ms. DeMent, Iris, during a radio interview with her 30-some years ago now. And I was struck, I was impressed by how she talked about faith without using any platitudes. And then she said that she had tried out, this is on national U.S. public radio, she said she had tried out congregations from our movement. And while she liked most of what she heard said, the music she heard in those congregations left her cold. Gave her, something was to be desired. Well, Iris DeMent, we here in Ottawa, we hear you and we raise you. Our song is, let our band come forward, let the mystery be.
So while we're getting set up, I'll do a quick introduction. My name is Lisa Sharp, and I'm one of the organizers of the house band here. And I wanted to just say a few words. First of all, the house band performs about once a month for the church services. And we usually rehearse a few days before that Sunday in question. We welcome singers, we welcome musicians of any instruments to join us. And if you're interested in hooking up with us, you can speak to me or Guy or Mariella or anybody that you see up here, and we'll get you on the email mailing list with the information. So today's song, there is, I think we're going to have lyrics up there, yes? They're coming. And we wanted to let you know there's going to be a musical interlude between, so it goes chorus, verse 1, chorus, and then there's a musical interlude, and then verse 2, and then a chorus. We encourage people to sing along. It's a really fun song, and we hope you enjoy it. And we want to dedicate this song to Reverend Eric, because he introduced us to it.
Everybody is wondering what and where they all came from. Everybody is worrying about where they're gonna go when the whole thing's done. But no one knows for certain, so it's all the same to me. I think I'll just let the mystery be. Some say once you're gone forever, and some say you're gonna come back. Some say you rest in the arms of the Savior if it's sinful ways you lack. Some say that they're coming back in a garden, bunch of carrots and little sweet peas. I think I'll just let the mystery be. Everybody is wondering what and where they all came from. Everybody is worried about where they're gonna go when the whole thing's done. But no one knows for certain, so it's all the same to me. I think I'll just let the mystery be. Some say they're going to a place called glory, and I ain't saying that ain't a fact. But I've heard that I'm on the road to purgatory, and I don't like the sound of that. I believe in love, and I live my life accordingly. But I choose to let the mystery be. Everybody is wondering what and where they all came from. Everybody is worried about where they're gonna go when the whole thing's done. But no one knows for certain, so it's all the same to me. I think I'll just let the mystery be. I think I'll just let the mystery be.
Wow. Like me more of that. So I invite the ushers to start passing the baskets at this time. So this congregation has a long history of care, vitality, and bringing people together to move the arc of justice forward. We have been able to live into our hopes and dreams because of the generosity of those within and beyond this community. Whether you are here in Worship Hall or anywhere else, you are part of this community. To make a gift in support of the work of this congregation, you don't need to use the baskets that are now beginning to make their way among the pews. Wherever you are invited to go to our website or contact our finance manager to find out how to make a donation or to keep up with your pledge. Our gifts are freely given and gratefully received. We dedicate these gifts to the work of this congregation of faith, serving human wholeness, caring for the planet, upholding religious freedom, welcoming the stranger, and loving one another. And now, please rise as you are willing and able as we join together in our closing hymn before the winter solstice, Abide with Me. Hymn 101 in the gray hymnal.
Abide with me.
Before we close this time of worship and reflection, a reminder that coffee hour will begin in Fellowship Hall immediately after the service. If you are new here, still feel new, or simply welcome a conversation today about watermelons or anything, please pick up a green mug as you enter Fellowship Hall. Doing so will help others looking forward to good conversation find you. And again, as last week, leafy greens, courtesy of the good folk of Ajaski, are still only tender shoots. We'll be able to begin harvesting again later this winter. We extinguish our chalice this morning to these words by Jane Malden. Now may the love of truth guide you. May the warmth of love hold you, and the spirit of peace bless you this day and in all days to come. This morning's chalice is extinguished, but the spark of our connections and faith remain. And it looks like we're going to have a little more help with our closing song this morning. Please rise as we sing together, Spirit of Life. As we return now, yes, you can sit down. As we return to the challenge of helping the world come alive in love, let us go forward with that love in our hearts and peace in our steps. Go in peace, my friends. Go in peace.